This is me. I am sick, and I'm still I'm trying. So, I'm going to see how much of this I can read through today before I say, okay, I'm done. This is Along Came a Wolf. I should have been finishing up the book yesterday. Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. I should have been reading the last chapter, chapter 17. But I came down with a flu cold. It's one of those colds that's so severe with fever and that it's just like this is like an uber cold, minor flu. So I'm gonna go ahead and try getting through this. I don't have my usual voice, so we'll see how this goes. I excuse me if I hack, because I'm gonna hack in the middle of this. So Lulu woke. Oh, this is chapter 12. Sorry. Howling for revenge. Sneak preview of what's to come. Lulu woke to the sound of the heavy jail door opening. The morning sun through the barred windows partially lit the cell block and started to warm up for the crisp autumn air. And I need to slow down. I'm from New York, so. Get up, Lulu. It's off to the magistrate for you. You'll be hanging by this afternoon. Lulu craned his neck to see who it was. Oh, Captain Archambault. Thank you for the wake-up call. I do believe I overslept. The captain looked at the 3 guards who accompanied him and shook his head. Can you believe him? Acting like we're taking him out for breakfast with the Queen. 2 guards chuckled. After an exaggeratingly long stretch, Lulu stood up and brushed the straw off his dirty clothes. Next time, please remind me to ask for a firmer bed. This one's too soft. Firmer? Said the captain. There isn't anything firmer except the floor. Well then, I'll ask for some extra floor next time, said Lulu mockingly. His behavior bothered the captain. You think you're so smart, don't you, Lulu? Think or no? Lulu snapped back. His green eyes were large and intimidating. Gabriel grunted dismissively. It takes more than big eyes to scare me. Lulu was getting under his skin. Open it up, the captain said to the guards. 2 guards unsheathed their swords while the 3rd unlocked the cell door. Gabriel smiled at the prisoner. Well, Lulu, I'll have you know that we uncovered your plot with a pretend doctor. No one is coming to rescue you, said the captain smugly. Lulu wore an evil smile from ear to ear. Really? A secret plot involving the doctor. And my 3rd horseman? Whatever do you mean? Lulu stepped back and examined each of the guards closely. Out of my way, commanded the captain to the guard, who had unlocked the door. The captain stepped into the cell, quickly followed by the same guard. The doctor was one of my men, who also made sure your friend, who we have in the jail across the street, has extra guards today. You are going to hang, Lulu. Lou shook his head mockingly and sneered. Someday, maybe, but not today. You missed 2 things, dear captain. His smile now looked even more sinister. Who do you think convinced your good lieutenant to come out of retirement? Isn't it odd that he would volunteer such a plan? That he would be willing to come here to try and gather information? The captain was caught off guard. Very funny, he said, uncertain. Wait, you never said he was a lieutenant. That he was retired. And that he came up with a brilliant idea? Oops, my mistake. This might be why I'm so bad at playing cards. I can't keep a good hand to myself. Would you like to go back to when you thought you had the upper hand? Asked Lulu sarcastically. We're leaving, yelled the captain to his men. The magistrate can come here for judgment. He turned to leave, but the 2 guards, swords drawn, stopped his exit. You know, I actually had 5 horsemen. There's the dead one. Psst, a pity. I had to kill him. Then the one you arrested, and the other one mysteriously close by. The other 2, I ordered them to come here some weeks ago to join your guard corps. So please, allow me to introduce my men, Lulu said, gesturing to the guards holding the swords. A small precaution, of course, in case I was ever arrested. The captain stared at the men in disbelief. No, it can't. He looked to the guard who had unlocked the door. He was smiling coldly. And him? He's not a guard either. I did tell you my 3rd horseman was nearby. Probably closer than you were expecting. Lulu licked his lips. I do so love this game we play. T was the last one to come up the mountain pulleys. To her surprise, Richie and Ellie were just standing there looking at the treehouse some 20 yards away. What are you 2 looking at? T asked. Ellie pointed toward the treehouse ramp. At first I thought Richie was being silly, but he's right. Someone's definitely been here. No doubt about it. Richie started walking toward the treehouse. I'll show you what those magic elves have been up to. Look, a door with some kind of lock, he said, gesturing dramatically. Where the ramp to the treehouse's lower level has been, there was now a door. The door had a wooden puzzle embedded into it as a lock. The three walked around the treehouse to see if there was another way in. Circling back to the puzzle door, they confirmed that whomever had put it there had made sure they would need to solve it. At first, the puzzle seemed impossible, as some pieces could slide and others could turn, but gradually a pattern emerged. After 10 minutes, they heard a clunking sound, and were finally able to open the door. They didn't recognize the picture formed by the completed puzzle, or the meaning behind it, but they would in time. T, I think your grandfather's the one who built this place and keeps giving us new stuff, said Richie, as they started searching around. Ellie added, I thought so too at first, but I don't think that anymore. She proceeded to open the cabinets and search their secret panels. Hey, come look at this! Behind one secret panel were 3 new yellow cloaks. Another secret panel revealed a 6 new shock stick and some other items. There's no way your grandfather could have made all this stuff, said Ellie. T and Richie each took one of the new cloaks, marveling at their quality. This is so light, but it seems dense at the same time, said Richie. The fabric feels strong, like it should be heavy, but it isn't. He held it up to the morning light. That's weird. The sun doesn't even come through it. T examined the inside. Check out all the pockets. I can put a slingshot here, and I guess the sticks go to the bottom edge of the cloak, maybe to give it more weight. Or they could go in the special pockets right behind your back. Check them out, said Ellie, pointing out the additional pockets she'd found. Richie put his cloak on and asked Ellie, You really don't think Monsieur Klaus made all of this? First, said Ellie. Well, it's been a couple of weeks since the Lulu stuff. He's been preoccupied with something big. I've seen him in town twice, and he looked like a zombie. You know, the look he has when he won't stop until he's finished whatever he's working on. T, do you know what he's been up to? T smiled knowingly, but she wasn't going to answer. Her friends weren't surprised. They knew her grandfather often asked her to keep things secret until he was ready to share them. Yet she liked how Ellie deductively broke things down. Ellie continued, Well, look at this stuff. The new sticks, for example. The design is a little bit different now. Do you think he really had time to do that? She played with the sticks in her hands, noticing that the balance was better, and they were slightly thicker. T thought about it. Grandpapa likes to invent new things. These things aren't new. They're probably better than what we had, but they aren't new. Richie made one last attempt to connect Nikolas to everything. Maybe Monsieur Klaus has someone who works for him. T shook her head. She wasn't aware of anybody who had ever worked for her grandfather. Said Richie. Well, right now it's like we have little magic elves coming and making stuff for us, so I'm okay with that. Ellie frowned. A troubling thought occurred to her. The stuff means that someone knows who we are and that we come here. T waved off Ellie's concern. I'm sure this is tied to my grandfather somehow, but it's not a mystery we're going to solve today. Until we see something worth knowing about, worrying about, let's just assume it's someone who is trying to help us. Or someone's, Richie added. That's not a word, snapped Ellie, rolling her eyes. Bacon paced nervously. It was almost time to leave. He turned to his brothers and asked again, You guys sure you'll be okay without me? Squeals looked at Boar. Oh, I don't know, he said sarcastically. Boar, do you think we might touch the stove and burn ourselves while he's out on a second date? Boar laughed. Maybe we try to go outside and run into trees. The two laughed out for a bit. Squeals turned to his older brother. I think you're afraid she'll stop liking you because you're a lowlife she is too good for. Bacon hated the term lowlife, and Squeals knew it. We're poor, yes, but we make our own way. He always have, he retorted defensively. We got up from their wobbly kitchen table and looked at the shack around them, now 10 years old. They had been just teenagers when they built it, using skills learned from Monsieur Klaus. During their time living with the Klaus family, they'd refused to live in the main house except on the worst of days. At first, the brothers had insisted on staying in the large shed. Nikolas had fixed it up and insulated it. Isabella had come around to the idea, since it forced Nikolas to deal with the mountain of stuff he'd been keeping in it. The brothers had discussed the idea of their own home for months. When they finally decided to build it, they settled on a location about a mile away from the Klaus home. They'd still go over to have evening meals with the family every day, but afterward they would head back to their own place. Unbeknownst to them, every night, either Nicholas or Isabella would sneak over and check in on them before turning in for the night. When they built their house, Nicholas had offered to help with more than just materials, but even Boar refused to allow him to do anything except watch, advise, and help steady the occasional beam. When the brothers were done, they immediately moved their few belongings in. The house was very modest, but every leak and repair felt like a badge of honor. They were standing on their own and were proud of it. Bacon bowed his head. I just don't like the idea of leaving you guys. He felt like he was stealing something from his brothers in order to spend time with Angelina Marie. Boar shook his head in his exaggerated way and stood up quickly. He nearly hit the ceiling as usual. No, he said gently. You scared off girl. Girl don't break up family. Maybe girl become family. Squeals and Bacon looked at Boar in surprise. Bang on, Boar. Egg and bacon. Sounds like a natural match to me. Teased Squeals with a quick glare from Bacon. Squeals quieted down. Bacon walked over to his youngest brother and looked up at him. Go, said Boar warmly. His booming voice decided the matter. Bacon nodded. As he walked down, he recalled how weird the first date with Angelina Marie had felt at first. They'd met in the marketplace and just had walked for an hour. Bacon had been so nervous he'd rubbed his hands together until he had blisters. He hadn't noticed Angelina Marie twirling her hands so much that she looked like she had braids. To pass the time as he walked down the mountain road, Bacon counted his coins and thought of what he would pick up at the market. This time, he planned to have a picnic with Angelina Marie. It would be simple, but it was all he could afford. Over the past 2 weeks, he'd done extra work for anyone who needed a hand to earn the money he needed. His two brothers had insisted on helping, but asked for none of the money. Angelina Marie was the captain's daughter, which weighed on Bacon. He couldn't imagine they would stay together long, because despite what he'd said to his brothers, deep down he believed that he really was just a lowlife. Someone like her shouldn't stay with someone like me, he thought. He didn't want her to go. She inspired him and made him feel more solid inside. A man lost in thought, said Lulu, startling Bacon. Lulu stood in the middle of the road with 3 mounted horsemen, their pistols drawn. You might not remember me. I've healed since our last encounter, but I remember you. Bacon was still a mile or 2 away from the edge of town. He knew few inside this mountain road at the time of day, so he was on his own. He stepped side to side, trying to prepare himself for trouble. What do you want? He asked. Lulu looked at his horsemen. Ruffians. They are always so rude. The men laughed. I suppose we must be vulgar and get to the point immediately. You're lucky, Monsieur Cochin. I'm not interested in lowering myself to your level and giving you to the beating you deserve. I have a job to do. Lulu started to walk around Bacon, keeping a safe distance. I will have my revenge on you. Don't misunderstand me. On you. On the pretty Mademoiselle Archambault. On Captain Archambault. On Monsieur Klaus. And on those annoying yellow hoods who humiliated me. But, one thing at a time. Do you know what the next thing is? He asked, stopping and glaring at Bacon with his piercing green eyes. Bacon looked around quickly. No. What? It's obvious to the trained mind. But again, you are a ruffian. Lulu sneered. He looked to his men and commanded, Seize him!